Welcome, everyone, boys and girls, men and women, people in far-off galaxies, the illiterate who can only listen. That's me sometimes. I feel like I'm getting more and more illiterate. Like, I need to read more.
Is that an eyesight thing or?
Ouch. Yeah. Ouch. Someone asked me, they're like, "How? What prescription do you have in your glasses?" I said, "Well, that's a personal question, but I'll tell you. When they made the new Webb telescope, they borrowed my lenses as a test subject."
They're no Bernstein, but you know, they're thick. They make your eyes look big.
Hey, easy. They make the wrinkles under my eyes look even larger. Okay, judge. I'm not judging. I'm just looking in your general direction and coming to conclusions. 4 eyes. Anyway, hey, welcome back to the One Pastor of Pain show in Clay Furleigh. And we're still waiting in great anticipation of Father Lawrence Nwachukwu, the Son of the King.
Is that what it means?
Heck yeah, that's what it means.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Son of the King.
What does Kerry mean?
Kerry means, you ready?
Yeah.
Dark-haired, curly one.
That's very, very fitting.
It is. What about if I said spazozoidal maniac? Would that also be fitting?
Even more fitting. Because your hair's getting lighter.
It is.
Yeah. Your eyesight's getting worse. Your hair's getting lighter.
I'm getting old.
Yeah. I guess that's what happens. I have a lot to look forward to.
You got a lot.
Yeah.
Your hair's going to get less spiky.
Yeah. Well, this is from Moped.
This moped
hair. Yeah.
Well, that's what the month of May. That's what month of May will do to you. Clay is our director of campus ministry here. I always introduce you with like 3 titles. This is Clay Furleigh, and then there's this long pause. Clay Furleigh, he manages all our campus ministry. Mm-hmm. He's also the director of our campus ministry.
I manage and direct.
Yes. Manage and direct. We call it in military acronyms. It would be M&D. That sounds manage and direct.
Okay.
M&D.
There you go.
M&D Clay Furleigh. So, you know what? One of the cool things we do, as you know, Clay, is we just came back from this fantastic pilgrimage. Every year we do a road trip pilgrimage. You've never been on one, have you?
No, I've never been.
Oh.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that you don't get to spend 10 days of your life with me in a foreign country.
An extra 10 days?
An extra bonus 10 days, Furleigh.
I think of that as a vacation for me too.
It's a vacation, a staycation. You got a staycation.
That's right. I do. It's interesting working campus ministry and on those big breaks. Those like kind of weeks that like Stillwater just kind of really dies down. It's very calm.
May to June.
Yeah, May to June or December especially.
Oh,
December especially.
Yeah, even the
Christmas
foreigners
break.
go home. Yeah.
It's it's really awesome because there's no classes in December at all. Everyone's on vacation. There's no traffic.
Yeah.
It's quite fun.
So if you ever, people remember in my era the family road trip. So I do a family road trip every year with college students.
Sometimes you fly.
Yeah. But it always turns into a road trip once we hit the ground.
That makes sense.
And this year we did, you ready? Stillwater to Boston.
It's a lot of miles.
It's a lot. It's 25 hours from Stillwater to Boston. It's 19 hours to the Shrine of the North American Martyrs. So we did North American Martyrs Baseball Hall of Fame, the Finger Lakes region of New York, and then went over to the Shrine of Divine Mercy and Fort Ticonderoga. Mm-hmm. And then we took the same route. And I didn't realize this, but when the Americans took Ticonderoga, they took the cannons at Ticonderoga and then moved them to Boston. Little did I know, Boston used to be an island. Really? And then they surrounded Boston with cannons, and then the British Navy showed up.
Blasted it.
The British Navy, the greatest Navy ever in history.
Well, aircraft carriers might have to say something about that.
That's right.
I think just one of those could take out the entire.
Well, Rob's a retired Navy senior master chief petty officer, master senior.
The Navy and their ranks are
chief
weird.
Petty officer.
Yeah.
You were. Whoa. I didn't realize you were a retired chief petty officer. Those guys, don't salute him. Those guys like run the Navy. The Chiefs do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My brother's in the Navy.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, he's moving to Canada, apparently.
Oh, lucky him.
Yeah.
A lot of syrup, not a lot of hockey and donuts around for them. Well, so it's been, I encourage people, like, do a road trip pilgrimage this summer. You know, you got sometimes you got weekends to do things. Go out and see part of America. Go out to different religious shrines. I know we've been planning stuff for the students this summer. So if you're, if you're both in Stillwater at St. Francis, they have things going on at the parish. Kira Ziola is in charge of the youth ministry over there. And there's all sorts of cool stuff going on over there during the summertime. So sfx.org, that's your parish.
That is my parish.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then St. John Catholic Pokes, and there's a group me out, and there's social media. So for students who are here during the summertime, college students, come on over.
Yeah.
And
come
parents,
to Mass will get you connected.
Yeah, exactly. One of the cool things about having the two parishes really well connected is every Sunday in the evening, we go over and play volleyball and cook out.
Yeah.
And then Kira comes out because she played volleyball in high school and hits, just smacks a ball in somebody's face.
Scary.
Yeah. She gets up in the air and then hits down on people, and guys who think they're really good end up with like a welt that looks like a ball on the side of their face.
Yeah, but volleyball is a good equalizer sport.
It is. Hey, if you can't hit, you can at least dig.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen some little girls dominate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of dominating,
flawless.
This flawless transition. Okay. So we've been doing this little series, and you've been asking me questions about the Mass.
Yeah, because I got a lot of questions.
Yeah, like do's and don'ts. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago was our dedication, and our conversation about this. So April 29th, the Feast of St. Catherine of Siena, was our 1-year anniversary. That was like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a month ago? Yeah, almost a month ago. And it was really cool because I was like, what do I want to preach on? What do I want to preach on? And I preached on the importance of the altar.
Wow.
Of how everything flows from the life of the altar. There was this one guy at Mass for the dedication, had this giant beard and bald head, and I couldn't stop taking my eyes like, who is this guy? And apparently he's a parishioner of St. Francis. Anyway, his name was Mike or Joe or Willy Wonka, one of the three. Anyway, so there's why is the altar so critically important? When during the liturgy, it says that we genuflect to Jesus in the Eucharist before the Mass begins. Mm-hmm. And then when the liturgy begins, we make these profound bows to the altar, because without the altar, the Eucharist doesn't exist.
Right.
Without the altar, there's no ordination of priests. Mm-hmm. Without the altar, there's no fill in the blanks. There's no marriage. There's no sacraments.
Right. That's really cool. I guess that's part of your motivation to design St. John with the blood and water flowing forth from the altar to the rest of the church with the red and blue tile.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's cool.
Because that's what the great saints would say about, like, when Jesus' side is pierced, it says, and poured forth blood and water. It's like, why would they note blood and water? And they go back and connect it with the sacrament of baptism and the Holy Eucharist.
Right. Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, you know what? You have to give Matthew Alderman, who is the theological architect. Mm-hmm. I mean, him and I sat down and we talked out ideas about Gospel of John, Book of Revelation, Book of Genesis. And then Matthew Alderman, just look him up. I mean, the guy went to Notre Dame, got his architecture degree in there, and is just a brilliant mind. Mm-hmm. And put all those colors together and all those ideas and the 24 elders, and then help design and shape each one. He was like, John the Baptist's ankle needs to be like this so that his movement is moving laterally. And I'm like,
very specific.
I was like, yeah, Matthew, I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
A true artist, you might say.
Yeah. True artist. Well, Father James Porter is the model for John the Baptist.
Fascinating.
I made him stand there. And like point his body in different directions. And Matthew was like, "Stop right there," and we take a picture of it.
There you go.
And then, so
that's great.
But I mean,
JP3.
Their beard and facial hair recognition,
Not quite the same.
Not quite the same. Anyway, but so we've been talking about the Mass.
Yeah,
so we left off with something.
You left off with a banger of a statement.
What? Uh-oh. What did I say?
Talking about, do you remember? So
no.
I don't
remember yesterday.
I asked you about the reception of Holy Communion.
Oh.
Yeah. And so.
What did I say?
You said a lot of things. That I think I need to follow up with.
You can't slot machine.
Correct.
Like you make a V shape in your hand. Like Father O'Brien and I had this conversation with people. It's like you don't have to tilt your head way back in the air, and you don't have to bow your head down so you can't receive Holy Communion.
So so the gist of what you're saying is making it easy on the priest to give it to you.
Please.
Or imam. And it's not just to make it easy because priests are lazy, but it's out of reverence for Jesus. Am I correct?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's like the church, I don't think, wants Eucharistic abuses or accidents.
Neither.
Yeah. I think, is that the reason why you don't see like the blood at every Mass?
The precious blood?
The precious blood?
Here or other places?
Well, here specifically.
Well, during flu season, students wouldn't receive the precious blood. So Father Lawrence and I was helping distribute Holy Communion. John. Yeah, at Old St. John when he was here in 2017. And 4 of the chalices were half full. Well, they only consumed half of the precious blood.
That's a lot to consume.
Exactly. So when you talk about accidents, like the accident is that it still has alcohol in it.
Right. It's still going to affect your body.
So I would have to drink 6 to 9 ounces of the precious blood in like 5 seconds. Like each chalice. And then another one.
Yeah.
And there were 4 of them. The other one is like, well, during COVID, it went away and it sort of never came back. And then there was just these awkward lines. And also, like if 1 drop of the precious blood of Jesus is enough to save the entire world, like we just spend it on wiping the precious blood off chalices.
Right.
Now, those are my own things, but other places do different.
I've heard similar things of like it. I mean you just increase risk of spillage.
Yeah.
If you do it every day, every Sunday, and it's like and the church it was traditional practice for it to be on special occasions for a long time.
Right, and ours is. First Holy Communions of college students, weddings, confirmations. At your confirmation, you receive the precious blood. So on these big monumental days in your life. Okay,
that makes
sense.
The
reception of Holy Communion.
So here's the big debate, at least with like younger Catholics.
Go on.
You see hand or tongue. How should I receive?
Well, the church gives opportunities for both, except in the East. In the Latin church, yeah. In the East, you can't because it's served with a spoon in the chalice, and the precious blood and the bread, the body and the blood are woven together in the same. So you can't in the East. You can't. You can only do that in the West.
You can't do what?
You can't receive on the hand in the East.
Of course.
Except during Lent when the precious blood is not distributed.
Okay.
It's different.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think there's options for both, and the church has clearly made it as an option for both to receive in the hand or on the tongue. And I think the debate right now is like kneeling or standing.
Okay, yeah. I was going to get there too.
Oh, hot stuff coming through.
Have you ever seen someone kneel and receive on the hand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen that before.
Mhm. I've given.
I think the general thought is that it's more reverent to do one of the things. Is that the case?
To do one of them?
To do one or the other?
To receive on the tongue while standing
No.
kneeling
Yeah.
in the hand? What?
Yeah, I think that's the motivation behind some, like, when you see someone receive while kneeling, it's like, oh, that's more reverent than standing.
Well, also I don't know if I've gone into this before, but the weird communion rails, kneelers things that are showing back up. People are using like the front row of a church, or they're getting kneelers. It's like, well, the back history architecturally is like there was a rood screen before Trent, and then Trent turned into a bunch of libos and cut down the rood screen so people could see the liturgy. I know this is me like ironically, yeah, because there was these rood screens that existed, which were the original iconostasis that were built up, and no one could see the liturgy.
If you go to those churches now and you try to kneel, it's not an altar rail. It's a little too high. It's like 4 feet tall. It's like kneeling with your arms eye level.
Yeah, that's right. And so the rood screen, the iconostasis rood screen, and then in the Latin church, the communion rail showed up. Mm-hmm. And then in 65, after the council, the communion rails went away. But then it's like the communion rail. I mean, there's all this theology around these things that the church has said, listen here, you can receive it. In the United States, it's standing in the hand or on the tongue. It doesn't bar people from kneeling. Now, what's more important? To have a soul prepared, our hearts, our minds, our soul prepared to receive Jesus in the Holy Eucharist? Yes, that is the chief, most important thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't think standing takes anything away from that.
No, and it's the norm in the Eastern Catholic churches to receive Holy Communion standing.
Right.
And it's the norm in the Latin church.
Yeah. I think the takeaway for me is make it easy to reduce the risk of abuse or accidents happening. Yeah. I think that's, and prepare your heart well. And I think you should be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Okay, so moving on. In the order of Mass, kind of the last thing is the concluding rites. So after the rites, I as a layman in the pews, I'm told to go in peace. That's what Mass means, right?
Oh yeah,
to go.
Yeah.
So
ite missa est.
Right.
It has been sent.
Right. So I am sent, and my direction is to go in peace. And then everyone stays in the pews for a little longer. So should I A, sing another hymn, exit hymn after I'm told, or should I B, stay and pray, or can I just leave?
Okay, yeah. So I like inside baseball stuff. This is like infield fly rule. Like the other day, it was what was that? Not the other day. It was like 6 weeks ago, Aaron Judge puts his hand up, sliding in to second base. Ball hits his hand and goes flying some other place. And he is ruled out because he was tagged out at second. But the guy at first base wasn't ruled out. You ready? Inside baseball. At the end of Mass, the general instruction of the Roman Missal says the priest blesses the people, and then he goes into the sacristy.
That's what
it does not say anything about a hymn being sung, although you can do it. It gives no instruction at the finality of the liturgy other than the priest gives the blessing. And done.
Wow. So Mass is over.
And the people can literally go. They can walk out of the church right at that moment. Mass is over.
So if I see someone, if I'm coming back from the bathroom and I see someone leaving and Mass is over, I shouldn't judge them. Is what you're saying?
You should look at them and say,
"What the heck, Mass?
That guy has read the germ." Yeah,
that kind of brings me. That's a great point. But to my next questions, which are kind of just like general Mass questions.
Uh-huh.
So we've talked about a lot of things the last few episodes about what I should be doing in Mass and what people should be doing in Mass in general. How should I approach someone doing something wrong? Let's say we talked about hats a couple episodes ago, like someone wearing a hat. If someone's wearing a hat in the church, what should I do? Well, obviously, you have a different responsibility as a priest than me.
Yeah, well, usually, the reason why our church is decorated the way it is remember when people used to walk through the double glass doors, the glass doors of St. John?
The one with the face on it.
Exactly. I never knew that. It had a face on it until you showed it to me. Yeah. It had like eyeballs and a smiley face.
It was creepy.
It was, especially when you were alone in the church at night and it like shadowed. But anyway, this guy literally was walking in and he had a cappuccino in his hand. And I said, hey, yeah, you can put your cappuccino right there. And he said, I can't take it in. And I said, no. And he said, why? And I said, well, you can't take your cappuccino into Mass. And he said, well, what's the difference between Mass and Life Church? And I looked at his friends, and his friends were as puzzled as he was. So this church came about, all that art up there, because of that guy who I have no idea who it is.
Now you can't deny the difference.
You cannot deny the difference because it's hard to describe heaven and earth being filled with God's glory when it's brown.
All brown.
All brown.
Right. Some phenomenology
the cables
there.
pulling the banners up. I love those banners. I could interchange them, but then the squeaky wheel pulling them up there. I used to love like laying them out and ironing. Oh, the glory days of St. John. Anyway, so what should you do? You should be nice to a person when they come in the door, especially ushers. And you could tell them, hey, you could put your, like people wore cowboy hats in. I put a table out. Hey, you guys can put your cowboy hats over there. And they're like, oh, okay, thanks, Father. It's the same with ball caps. It's like, that guy can put that over there. If they're coming in with a cappuccino or a bottle, I don't know, something large drink. You're like, hi. Yeah, there's a place right over there. You can put that. And they're like, okay. And people like, just be kind and polite to people.
Yeah.
If you're going to Mass with somebody and they've never been to Mass before, like walk them through the liturgy, get a book for them that has the readings for Mass in it, and maybe like coach pitch them through and then like during the instructions of receiving Holy Communion and not like be able to tell them like, oh yeah, you shouldn't go up and receive Holy Communion. You can stay here or you can put your hands across your chest and follow me. That's actually not part of the liturgy is to put your hands across your chest and priest give blessings to people.
Because that's technically would be the same blessing they receive at the end of Mass.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
But everybody wants kind of something. So when they go to Mass, they're like.
And plus, like those Vietnamese old dudes come up with their arms crossed and then they extend their hands out.
Oh, those guys psych me out all the time. When I used to
live at the cathedral and there was a half Vietnamese parish, and I'd see it often.
Oh, yeah.
They just walk down with their arms crossed, and then they would extend their hands. Yeah. All of them.
And they make a small altar very firm.
Yeah. They know what to do.
They know what to do, those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. So here's something I hear often.
No,
this is a good thing. I just never hear it explained.
Okay.
Oftentimes, you say this often at weddings. It's like, if you're Catholic and you're ready to receive, you can come up and receive communion. And if you're not, you can stay in your pew or come up with your arms crossed. So you say that at weddings. Like, what does it mean for a Catholic to not be prepared to receive? And how am I supposed to know if I'm prepared or not? Yeah.
One of the basic things of the church is that you have to go to confession once a year.
Okay.
So if you haven't been in confession
in a year,
then you shouldn't receive Holy Communion because it's one of the basic tenets of the church. You got to go to confession once a year and receive Holy Communion one time a year. The church mandatory makes you receive Holy Communion once a year. So then there's that examination of conscience that we have to do of am I in the state of mortal sin or not? Have I sinned against God as we say in the Confiteor, that I've greatly sinned in my thoughts and in my words, and what I have done and what I have failed to do. So have I, and that examination of conscience, of like, am I living a holy life?
Yeah.
And people like, well, I want to go up and receive Holy Communion, because I don't want people to look at me weird. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Or I think I see, well, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it is a big deal.
or you're just not taking an examination of our lives.
Right.
So we have to do that. That's why I try to go to Wickersham down in Guthrie every Saturday. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, man! I drive down there every Saturday, or meet him at the Love's gas station, or or Golden Chick.
It's a good place for a confession.
Yeah, you just pull over. We used to do it on. We used to meet for confession on on a road halfway between us, right across the Cimarron River.
There you go.
Just pull over and throw a stole over in the passenger seat.
It's generous of him.
Yeah, roll down the windows.
I guess you return the favor.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't tell you that or not, but we do sort of Stadies highway patrolman. We pull up and driver's side windows, put a stole on, and when it's cold outside, just turn the air on. Telling people that they need to be prepared to receive Jesus, God,
which would be being in a state of grace, which is you determine by your own conscience.
Mm-hmm. And the 10 Commandments. So if your conscience is not formed.
And the precepts of the church.
And the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
And also, at that same time, you're also seeing how God is working in your life and the graces that he's doing there.
Yeah. What's a question someone could ask themselves to determine in a moment if they're ready to receive or not, if they're prepared to receive?
Oh, no. I should be asking you that question. What do you think?
I would say, just as a baseline, do I submit to the teachings of the Holy Catholic Church? And if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't receive.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a good starter.
Yeah, that's a good starter.
Yeah. And then, obviously, diving deeper as... if you're committed to those things. If that's easy, yes. Okay, then obviously going deeper. Have I gone to confession in the last year? Have I followed the 10 Commandments and the precepts of the church and the seven
deadly sins?
Deadly sins, yeah. Exactly. So if I determine that I'm not in a state of grace and I am not prepared to receive communion, is there a point to going to Mass?
Oh, yeah. Because the whole point of going to Mass is to worship God.
Right.
That's it. That's numero uno. Love the Lord your God and worship him alone. Mm-hmm. So you're there to worship the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It was during COVID. It was, people were like, well, I can't receive Holy Communion, so I probably shouldn't go.
It's like, no, you should go.
No, you should go because this is the heart of worship is sacrifice, as Father Mike Schmidt says. So watch that video, Pray the Mass like never before. Yes.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting. So it's like we're required to go to Mass every Sunday and on holy days of obligation, but we're only required to receive once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's the point of Mass is not necessarily our reception of communion. There's something else there too. Yeah. I think that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, ponder that.
Okay.
In our remaining seconds, I think we have 45 seconds left. We do.
How should people deal with children in Mass? In the last 30 seconds.
You know what? I love kids being at Mass because I don't get enough of them. So when they scream out in the church, they're like, I'm like, I use them in my homily.
Yeah.
So like you said a couple weeks ago, you don't want to just like take your kid to daycare and be like, okay, this is what you do at church. It's like, no, these kids are learning how to pray and worship God by watching their parents, and they're learning how other people become holy. And also, you know what kids do? They inspire in us rage or annoyance. And joy and content. Rage and annoyance because they're like, it's bothering me. Gosh, the kids know it's once those parents,
That
and they're
kid's distracting
and
me.
then my vice shows up.
Yeah. Or just joy and happiness.
Exactly. Joyful noise to the Lord. Okay. Have a great day. Peace.